Hello guys, it is me, the Tank, and next year, technically this video is going to be in the interwar period. It's not even going to be in the World War I section. I don't know why I made it so soon, just like, I don't know why I made the Char 2C so soon. I think going forward in the future, I'm going to put it in the section where it was built. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it in the section where it was built. Not the section that it was, designed, because that's kind of dumb. I think that's just a better way to do things. So in the future, going forward, if it was, built, I'm gonna put in the day when it was built. So if it was designed in 1916 and built in 1922, it's gonna go in the interwar / World War II section. But I'm enough channel mates and stuff. Today we're gonna be talking about the Fiat 3000. Basically, as you can see, it's a Renault FT, but the Italian version. So it has a lot of the same key statistics of the FT. It has a 2-man crew, it weighs 6 tons, it can really only go about 5 miles an hour. Its armor ranged from 6 to 16 millimeters, depending where. Honestly, you're gonna see a couple more Renault FT copies on this channel. The Russians made one, the Japanese made one, I think that's actually it, yeah. So 4 FT videos. Honestly, after that, I think I'm gonna make a video on just why the FT was so influential. Because honestly, the FT was just really the first tank that everyone adopted or made copies on. Sort of like the Challenger 2, the Vickers 6-ton. These tanks. A bunch of the T series, T34, T60, 60 something, T55, T60 something. All these tanks that a lot of nations sort of just took. Or were given or copied, that FT really started this trend, which is why I'm probably going to make his own video on it. But onto the actual tank. It was originally armed with 2 6.6mm machine guns, but that was found to be inadequate, so a 37mm gun was adopted similar to the FT. As you can see here, it does look pretty cool, but I know what you're thinking. Italy doesn't want just a tankette. Yes, I know, I'm just as shocked as you are, guys, but honestly, I'm probably going to make a video on why Italy went with so many FTs in the future, but for now, just know, yes, they did not want a tank at this time. Onto it, backstory. 1,400 were ordered during World War I, with deliveries supposed to start in May 1919 for, the 1919 offensives, which are very tank heavy. Honestly, I could probably make a whole video on that, though I don't think I'm going to. Once the armistice hit, the order was actually canceled, obviously, and only 100 were delivered. They entered service 2 years later in 1921 as the Carro d'Assalto Fiat 3000 Modello 21. Original tests had only 2 machine guns as the weaponry, like I said, though this was changed to a 37mm main gun along with a 6.6mm secondary machine gun. I do think this is the first turreted tank to have a machine gun and the cannon in its turret. I might totally be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. Onto its upgraded version, the Modello 30. In 1921, an upgun version with a 3740 gun was tested and adopted in 1930 as the Carro d'Assalto Fiat 3000 Modello 30. Alongside its new improved armament, it had a more powerful engine and a new suspension, which allowed it to go nearly 3 times as fast, around 13 miles an hour, with a 62-mile operational range. It also had a different engine compartment silhouette and differently stowed external stores. Only 52 were produced, some, again, having 2 machine guns instead of a 37mm gun. Honestly, it is kind of weird because the Modello 30 was really because, we have these parts left over from when we ordered it, and we have these parts and these old ass tanks, and we want to upgrade them, but they only made 52, and then they still had about 100 Modello 21s, and it was kind of weird that they didn't try to upgrade it. I mean, at the very least give it a new engine. I guess they just didn't bother because we'll talk about this later, but they were kind of just in storage and didn't really expect to be used. But onto the service history, a few Modello 21s were exported to Albania, Latvia, Denmark, Hungary, and Ethiopia, though obviously Ethiopia before 1930, because around the turn of the decade, Italy was basically like, I want this. When the Italian nomenclature system was changed, the Modello 21 was changed to the L521 and the Modello 30, the L530. By 1940, a limited number of Fiat 3000s actually remained in Italian service. Really, they wouldn't really be on the front lines except a few. They were mostly kept around in either warehouses or reserve units on the mainland, where because Italy wasn't totally expecting to be invaded on the mainland, so they're sort of like, yeah, we got these old ass tanks. Why not just give them to like the Sicily divisions, which, as we'll soon discuss, I mean, that's what they turned out being used for. Sorry, I'm just feeling really thirsty today. I don't know why. In 1940, a limited number of Fiat 3000 still remained in Italian service, like I just said. And they actually did fight on the Greek-Albanian front, where they did alright, but then again, the Albanian military was not exactly the most advanced army in the world at the time. In July 1943, when the Allies invaded Sicily, 2 tank companies there were still equipped with Fiat 3000. One company turned their tanks into dug-in fortifications, which was probably the smart idea. Meanwhile, the other used them in mobile roles against the amphibious landing at the Battle of Gela. Obviously, this didn't turn out very well because only a few survived. What's curious is that the Fiat 3000 were actually some of the last Italian tanks in service. So, this was really the first mass-produced Italian tank to be adopted, and it was one of the last Italian tanks to still be used, which is pretty ironic, I gotta say. What's his final assessments? The Fiat 3000 was a pretty decent tank up until the mid-20s, where just like the FT, it became meh. And, following the Renault, by the late 20s and early 30s, it was basically obsolete. It was only kept in service really because it had a really lucky streak of fighting enemies with even more obsolete equipment, like the Libyans and Ethiopians, which basically made the army think, these tanks are still useful, because, I mean, yeah, obviously it made sense why people thought that, because, when you're fighting people with single-shot rifles as their main weapon, it's not really surprising that they did well. So basically they saw these, old-ass tanks doing well still, so they're like, yeah, might as well keep them around. Mainly just in warehouse storage or reserve units. However, Italy did enter World War II with mainly old tankettes, resulting in these tanks being used anyways. And they ended up being some of the last tanks Italy actually used until it, switched sides in 1943. But yeah, that's the Fiat 3000. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know the last video you guys didn't enjoy it very much. It didn't get very many views. Next video, I don't actually know what I'm doing next video. I can check it right now because I keep all this info on my phone because, I'm a genius, right? Next up is the... Okay, so next up, I'm basically just... There's not going to really be a series going on. It's basically all the tanks I missed in World War One. We're going to go through them all. So we're going to go through a bunch of different countries. England, France, I think I got some Canada in here. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and this is the Tank Index out. Peace.